A boy stands at the entrance of a shopping mall clutching a box of candy, hoping to sell enough to help his sick mother. But instead of kindness, he is met with humiliation. Security guards don't want him there. The rejection is swift, cruel. The people around pretend not to see, but one man does, and he might change everything. Nathan held the box of candy tightly against his chest. The suffocating afternoon heat made his thin t-shirt cling to his skin, but he didn't care. He was there for a reason. He had to sell. Every chocolate bar meant one more day of food for him and his mother. The sidewalk in front of the Los Angeles Mall was packed. Well-dressed people, arms full of shopping bags, easy laughter. No one paid attention to him. He took a deep breath and took his first step. "Sir, would you like to buy some candy? Just $1. The man didn't even look at him. Nathan tried again. A woman walked by, and he raised his voice. Nothing. Just silence and haste. He wouldn't give up. He couldn't. The rent was overdue, the fridge was nearly empty. His mother, Sarah, was coughing more and more. Her medicine had run out days ago. There was no one to help them. His father? Disappeared years ago. The only thing Nathan had was that box of candy and the hope that someone would buy it. "Sir? Please? Just $1. This time someone looked at him, but it wasn't with compassion. "Get lost, kid." The voice was harsh. Nathan stepped back but kept going. He had to. "Please, just one." "Beat it." The man walked away annoyed. A few people glanced over, but no one did anything. Nathan took a deep breath. The humiliation started pressing against his chest. Maybe this wasn't the best spot. Maybe he should try further down near the parking lot. But he would never get the chance. A large shadow loomed over him before he even noticed. "You again?" Nathan froze. The mall security guard. The same one who had kicked him out before. The man crossed his arms, his expression severe. "I already told you not to be here. I just want to sell. I don't care. Get out of here." The guard stepped forward as if to push him. Nathan's heart pounded. He looked around, searching for an escape. People pretended not to see. Some looked away. Others simply watched, waiting to see what would happen. He tried to explain, but his voice trembled. "Leave before I make you leave." Shame burned Nathan's face. He wanted to scream, wanted to say he wasn't doing anything wrong. But who would listen? Who would care? The guard took another step. Fear rooted Nathan to the ground. That's when a voice sounded behind him. A firm voice. Different. The security guard stopped. Nathan turned his head. Standing just a few feet away was a man everyone seemed to recognize. Someone who, without knowing it, was about to change everything. Silence took over the scene. The security guard, once so confident, hesitated upon seeing who was there. The people who had been ignoring the situation suddenly started paying attention. Nathan still held the box of candy against his chest. His hands were sweaty, but he didn't move. His eyes met those of the man standing nearby. Tall, well-dressed, sunglasses, a confident posture. He seemed to understand exactly what was happening. "Is there a problem?" The man's voice was firm but calm. The security guard cleared his throat and adjusted his belt. "This kid is bothering customers," he replied. "I already told him he can't sell here." Nathan felt his face flush. He wanted to say something, but his throat felt tight. The man slowly removed his sunglasses and looked directly at the guard. "Bothering how?" The guard hesitated. He keeps approaching people. He's not allowed to sell here." The man crossed his arms. What exactly did he do? Did he yell? Was he aggressive? Did he block anyone from entering? The guard frowned. The presence of this man changed everything. The arrogant tone from before didn't sound so strong anymore. "No, but then what's the problem?" Nathan watched in silence. His heart was racing. No one had ever spoken up for him before. The crowd started murmuring. Some pulled out their phones, ready to record. The guard looked around, realizing the attention was now on him. "Look, sir, rules are rules," he said, trying to keep his voice firm. "He can't sell here." "All right," the man said. "And do you treat everyone who can't be here like this? Or just the weakest?" The security guard turned red. Nathan felt a tight knot in his stomach. The man turned to him. "What's your name?" Nathan hesitated, then answered in a small voice. "Nathan." Nathan, the man repeated, thoughtful. And why are you selling candy? The boy lowered his head. He didn't want to share his story in front of everyone, but somehow he felt he should answer. My mom is sick. I need to help at home. The security guard scoffed, crossing his arms. Everyone's got a sad story. That doesn't give them the right to bother others. The man slowly turned to face him. His gaze was sharper now. Do you have kids? The guard didn't answer. If you did, and they were starving, would you want them to be treated like this? Silence. The guard looked away. Nathan felt something shift. For the first time, he wasn't the one being humiliated. But then the guard tried to fight back. Look, sir, the mall has rules. If you want to help him, take him somewhere else. Nathan felt the tightness return to his chest. The man was silent for a moment, then he smirked. That's a good idea. He turned to Nathan and without warning pulled out his wallet. How much for the whole box? Nathan's eyes widened. The whole thing? Yes. How much? The boy swallowed hard. $20. The man pulled out $100 bill and handed it to him. Keep the change. Nathan could barely hold the money. His hands were shaking. The people around them murmured. Someone was filming. The security guard didn't know what to do. The man then looked at him one last time. Now that he's no longer selling, I assume it's not a problem if he stays here, right? The guard pressed his lips together, furious, but said nothing. Nathan felt a mix of relief and shock. He never imagined someone would do something like this for him, but he still didn't know. This moment was only the beginning. Nathan held the $100 bill with trembling fingers. He had never seen so much money all at once. A mix of relief and confusion washed over him. What had just happened? The security guard shot one last glance at the man before walking away, muttering something under his breath. The small crowd that had gathered began to disperse. Some whispered among themselves. Others still looked at Nathan, but no one did anything. The man tucked his wallet back into his pocket and looked at the boy. Do you have change? He asked with a small smile. Nathan blinked, confused. No, the man chuckled. That's fine. I consider it a good deal. Nathan felt his face heat up. He wanted to thank him, but the words wouldn't come out. The idea that someone cared about him like that was hard to process. What's your mom's name? The man asked. Sarah. The man nodded. Does she know you're here? Nathan hesitated before answering. No. She didn't want me to come, but we needed the money. The man was silent for a moment, as if deciding something. Where do you live? Nathan hesitated again. He wasn't sure if he should say, but something about this man made him feel safe. In an apartment, downtown. It's small, but we've lived there for years. The man nodded again, thoughtful. Nathan looked down at the money in his hands. He wanted to run home and show his mom, but at the same time his chest felt tight. The humiliation he had just endured still clung to him. The security guard's look of disdain, the way people had turned away as if he didn't exist. Even with the money in his hands, he still felt invisible. The man seemed to notice. Listen, Nathan, some people think they're better than others just because they have more money. But do you know what really defines a person's worth? Nathan looked up at him, curious. What they do when no one's watching. Nathan frowned, trying to understand. The man glanced around, then back at him. People who truly care help. People who don't pretend not to see. But that doesn't mean you're worth any less. The words echoed in Nathan's mind. The man sighed and slipped his sunglasses back on. I have to go now, take care of your mom. Nathan's heart pounded. He didn't want this man to just walk away. Mister! The man stopped and turned back. Nathan clutched the bill in his hands. What's your name? The man gave a small smile. Logan. And with that, he turned and walked away. Nathan stood there watching him go. Something deep inside him whispered that this encounter wasn't just a coincidence, but he had no idea how much his life was about to change. Nathan ran home, his heart racing. The money gripped tightly in his fingers felt warm, as if it still carried the energy of the moment he had just lived. He ran up the worn steps of his apartment building and pushed open the door to their small home. Mom. Sarah was lying on the couch, coughing, her eyes tired. When she saw her son burst in like that, her eyes widened. Nathan, what's wrong? He knelt beside her and opened his hand, showing the $100 bill. "I did it, Mom." Sarah blinked, confused. "Did what? What do you mean?" Nathan told her everything. About the security guard, the humiliation, and the mysterious man who had stepped in and bought all his candy. By the time he finished, Sarah covered her mouth with her hand. Her eyes were filled with mixed emotions: relief, worry, disbelief. "Oh my God, Nathan. You shouldn't have been selling on the street." "But Mom, look, this covers your medicine and then some." Sarah sighed, exhausted. "I know, sweetheart. But what if something worse had happened? What if that man hadn't been there?" Nathan lowered his head. She gently cupped his face. "I know you want to help, but that's not your responsibility." Nathan bit his lip. "But Mom, who else is going to do it?" Sarah didn't answer. She had no answer. "Anyway," Nathan continued, "that man, he was different. I don't know how to explain it." Sarah looked at her son with warmth. "There are good people in the world, my love. They're just hard to find." Nathan stayed quiet. He couldn't explain why, but he felt like this wasn't the end of the story. And he was right. The next day, the city buzzed as usual. Nathan went back to school, trying to ignore the curious stares from his classmates. Some of them had seen the video that was spreading online. Yes, the video. He only found out when a classmate showed him a phone screen. "Hey Nathan, is this you?" Nathan's eyes widened. There, on the screen, was the scene of him being kicked out by the security guard, and the man who had stepped in to help. A cold sensation ran through his stomach. He had never seen himself like this before. Never thought someone would care enough to record it. "Who's that guy?" someone asked. "I don't know, but people are saying he's famous." Nathan frowned. Famous? Across the city, Logan sat in his office, staring at his phone. The video already had millions of views. He had never wanted this to become public, but now that it had, he couldn't ignore it. A knock on the door. "Mr. Logan, your PR team wants to know if they should release a statement about the video." He took a deep breath. "No, I want them to find out where that boy lives." The assistant hesitated. "Are you sure?" Logan looked out the window, his gaze distant. "Yes, I want to talk to him." He didn't know why, but that boy reminded him of someone. Someone he had tried to forget. And now, without realizing it, he was about to change Nathan's life forever. Nathan had no idea what was happening. He knew something had changed since the day before, but he didn't understand the full extent of it. School felt different. Some kids whispered and glanced at him from the corner of their eyes. Others pointed discreetly. Even the teachers seemed nicer. At lunchtime, while holding his lunch tray, a boy who had never spoken to him before approached. "Hey, did you know him?" Nathan frowned. "Know who?" The kid held up his phone. "The guy who helped you. Everyone wants to know who he is." Nathan swallowed hard and looked at the screen. The video was still playing. The comments were endless. People praising Logan, criticizing the security guard, debating injustice and inequality. "I don't know much about him," he admitted, "but he's famous." Nathan blinked. "Famous?" The boy looked at him like it was obvious. "You haven't seen? He's Logan Carter." A shiver ran down Nathan's spine. The name sounded familiar, and then it clicked. Logan Carter, the millionaire businessman. People said he had come from a tough childhood, that he built everything on his own. He owned multiple companies and was always in the news, but Nathan had never really paid attention. Until now. Sarah found out about the video too. A neighbor knocked on their door, holding up her phone. "Have you seen this?" Sarah's eyes widened as she watched the video. Her heart ached seeing Nathan being humiliated. But what surprised her the most was the man. Logan Carter. Why would someone like him help Nathan? She turned to her son, who was sitting at the table silent. "Nathan, are you sure you don't know him?" "I'm sure, Mom. I've never seen him before." Sarah sighed. Something was happening and she wasn't sure if it was good or bad. Across the city, Logan sat in his office. His assistant walked in, hurried. "We found the boy's address." Logan nodded slowly. "And?" "He lives with his mother, Sarah Thompson. Widowed, low income, health issues. Their situation isn't good." Logan pressed his lips together. He had expected as much. "I want to meet them." The assistant hesitated. Are you sure? Logan looked at him, serious. Yes, set up a meeting. And keep it discreet. The assistant nodded and left. Logan remained there, staring out the window. He didn't quite understand what he was feeling. But one thing was certain. This boy had awakened something in him. Something he had spent years trying to forget. And now, without realizing it, he was about to make a decision that would change not only Nathan's life, but his own as well. A knock on the door. Nathan was sitting on the small living room couch when a knock echoed through their tiny apartment. Sarah exchanged a worried glance with him before slowly getting up to open the door. On the other side, a man in a black suit with a discreet expression introduced himself. Good afternoon, Miss Thompson. My name is Daniel. I'm Mr. Logan Carter's assistant. He would like to speak with you if you're available. Sarah's heart pounded. Logan Carter? Yes. He asked for discretion so there are no cameras or reporters. He just wants to talk. Sarah looked over at Nathan, who was frozen on the couch, eyes wide. The boy swallowed hard and stood up. He's here? Daniel gestured subtly toward the hallway. That's when Sarah saw him. A few steps behind, standing quietly, was Logan Carter. He looked different without the sunglasses. More human, less distant than he seemed in videos. His gaze was intense, but there was a softness in it, a kind of quiet empathy. Sarah took a deep breath and opened the door wider. Please, come in. Logan stepped inside slowly, taking in the small apartment. The walls showed signs of wear, the furniture was simple, but everything was clean and organized. He looked at Nathan and gave a small smile. Hey, kid. Nathan opened his mouth, but no words came out. He had never been this close to someone so important. Sarah cleared her throat. Would you like to sit? Thank you. Logan sat in a chair by the table. A brief silence filled the room. Logan was the first to break it. I assume you've seen the video. Sarah nodded. It was impossible not to. He sighed. That wasn't what I wanted. I didn't help Nathan for attention. I know, Sarah said. Nathan remained silent, absorbing every word. Logan intertwined his fingers and looked directly at Sarah. I grew up like Nathan. I know what it's like to be in his shoes. Sarah's eyes widened. You? Logan nodded. My mother raised me and my brother alone. We barely had enough to eat. I sold candy on the streets, just like Nathan. Nathan held his breath. He had never imagined that. Logan Carter was a millionaire. How could someone like him have started the same way? I didn't want life to be this hard for him. Logan continued. No one should have to go through this. Sarah lowered her head. Emotional. I know it's not easy to accept help, but I want to help you. Nathan looked at his mother. She seemed hesitant. I'm not talking about charity, Logan said, reading her thoughts. I'm talking about opportunity. Sarah bit her lip. What kind of opportunity? Logan gave a small smile. A chance to change everything. A shiver ran down Nathan's spine. He didn't know exactly what that meant, but he knew his life would never be the same again. Sarah stayed silent. The small apartment felt even smaller with Logan Carter sitting there, offering something she never imagined hearing. What kind of opportunity? She repeated, her voice steadier now. Logan looked at Nathan. Do you want to study, kid? Nathan blinked, confused. I already go to school. I mean, at a school where you have more chances, where you can learn things that will truly make a difference in your future. Nathan didn't know what to say. He had never even considered that possibility. Sarah frowned. You want to pay for his education? I want to give him a path, Logan corrected. I'm not talking about charity. I'm talking about investing in him. Sarah took a deep breath. Why? Logan was silent for a moment. Because someone once did it for me. Nathan and his mother exchanged glances. And that's not all, Logan continued. I want to offer you a job. Something that will allow you to take care of your son without having to worry about putting food on the table. Sarah covered her mouth with her hand. Tears threatened to fall. Nathan's heart pounded. It was too good to be true. But why us? He asked quietly. Logan gave a small smile. Because I know what it's like to be in your shoes. Nathan swallowed hard. Sarah wiped her eyes and looked at her son. What do you think, sweetheart? Nathan looked at Logan, then at his mother. He thought about everything they had been through. About the days with barely enough food, the nights he heard his mother crying softly. He thought about the security guard's look of disdain, and he thought about the man who, with no obligation whatsoever, had decided to change everything. Nathan took a deep breath. "I accept." Sarah smiled, holding back her tears. Logan extended his hand. Nathan shook it. At that moment, something changed inside him. For the first time, he felt that the future could be different. And maybe, just maybe, he would never have to sell candy on the streets again. Months passed. Since that day, Nathan and Sarah's lives were never the same. With Logan's help, Sarah got a dignified job, one that allowed her to pay the bills without worrying about whether there would be food on the table. Her health improved. The cough that had once weakened her started to fade. She smiled more now. Nathan transferred to a new school. At first, he felt out of place, but he soon realized it was a place where he could grow. For the first time, he dreamed of something beyond just getting through the next day. But the biggest change wasn't just for them. One afternoon, as he was leaving school, Nathan noticed a boy across the street holding a box of candy. He had the same look Nathan once had, hope mixed with fear. Nathan crossed the street and stopped in front of him. "How much for one?" The boy looked up, surprised. $1. Nathan smiled and pulled a $20 bill from his pocket. "I'll take them all." The boy's eyes widened. "Really?" "Really." The kid took the money with trembling hands. Nathan took the box, but before walking away, he said, "Hey, you're worth way more than you think. Don't forget that, okay?" The boy nodded, speechless. Nathan crossed back, his heart racing. On the sidewalk, leaning against the car, Logan had been watching the whole time. As Nathan approached, Logan smiled. "I think you get it now, don't you?" Nathan smiled back. "Yeah. One day, someone changed my life. Now it's my turn to change someone else's." Logan placed a hand on his shoulder. "That's how we change the world." And in that moment, Nathan realized something important. True change wasn't just about money or opportunities. It was about never forgetting where you came from. And, most importantly, never stopping yourself from helping someone, just like someone once helped him. And you, have you ever thought about how a simple act of kindness can change someone's life? If you had the chance, what would you do to change someone's destiny? If this story touched you, leave a like so more people can see it. And if you want to hear another story that will move you, there's already an incredible video waiting for you on the final screen. I know you'll love it. See you there.